Hello there. This weekend marks the historic weekend for NASCAR for both the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series, as the Xfinity Series will be returning to the road course in Mexico City since 2008, and it will be the first time that the Cup Series has ever raced in Mexico. So looking forward to getting some action here in Mexico City. But before we begin with that, let's have a look at what the drivers first thought of Mexico when they arrived. Though before we did make it here, we actually had to evacuate the plane to Mexico City since the engine blew. It is quite an honor to be back here in my home country and racing on the road course. I am looking forward to getting the wins both in the Xfinity Series and in the Cup Series races this weekend. Being in Mexico City for the first time is quite the experience. Heck, during an interview, I turned into a full-on Lucha Libre fighter. Yeah, and technically speaking of which, me and some other NASCAR drivers actually went to go watch a Lucha Libre fight before the race. Yeah, it certainly was something. It felt like I was in the Roman Coliseum with the gladiators fighting. Man, it truly does suck that I'm gonna have to miss out on the race for Mexico City this year. But with the new baby on the way, family is the first priority, so I had to stay home with the family and wait for the time for the baby to be born. Also, I do want to mention that former Truck Series team owner Charlie Henderson has passed away this weekend, so may he rest in peace, and this episode of NASCAR Weekend Race Recap is dedicated to him. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the race weekend recap. And here is why I am good at road courses, as I have won the pole for the Xfinity race. I unfortunately will have to go to the back after I crash during qualifying, but hopefully I can make my way back up there and win the race. Here we go, the Xfinity Series is back for the first time since 2008 here at Mexico City. The heck was that kid Gibbs thinking shoving me into the grass like that? Come on! Just around the same issue the 9 had during qualifying. Just got loose going into that corner. That kid couldn't get out of my way, what'd you expect? But with that, I shall take the first stage. Yeah, same old Chris White wrecking again, blah blah blah, round of applause, blah 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 blah. Yep, there he goes again, wrecking by himself. Round of applause, everybody. Yeah, frick you, Chris White. First the spin, now engine troubles. So much for trying to get this team their first win. But after the spin that I had earlier in the race, I'll take the second stage. That wreck basically all started because I kept getting shoved over by multiple other drivers. What the heck is going on today? This should be a good day for me, but it's not. A little note to NASCAR, if we go back there next year, please fix that turn. Like, oh my gosh, there have been so many incidents there today. But in the end, I have made the ultimate comeback of the race and will win the race in Mexico City in my home country.
Yes! He got it! Yes! Yes!
Well, that was quite the comeback story of the race and a great deal for Daniel Suarez to win at Mexico City in his home country. Way to go, Daniel. So with that being said, let's now move on to the recap for the first time the Cup Series has ever raced here in Mexico. And this is why I have been so good on the road courses lately, as I'll win the pole. Both the 88 cars have won the pole for both races this weekend. But I didn't feel well during the drivers' meeting since I've come down with a sickness, so I'll have to tough it out as long as I can. They said that Bowman was still good to race today after that crash he had at Michigan last weekend, but I'll still need you on standby just in case, Fast Pasta. As for you, Ryan, the time has now come for you to drive Hamlin's car today since he's back home with his family waiting for the baby boy to be born. Now get out there and make that 11 team proud, and depending on how well you perform, perhaps you could earn yourself a cup ride in the near future. I'll do my best, Coach. It truly was an honor to be the Grand Marshal to give to the command for the Mexico City race today. The green flag's out as the NASCAR Cup Series drivers are racing for the first time here in Mexico City. Whoa, look at that. We have our first yellow already of the day for weather in the area. Yeah, that was quite the pinball effect. And with that, I'll win the first stage. Just missed the exit out of the S's there. I may still not be feeling well, but I'll win the second stage. Just had contact from behind from another driver, and that's how I spun out. And after all that and not feeling well the entire race, I will win the first ever NASCAR race here in Mexico City!
Yes! He got it! Yes! Yes!
Yo! Ah!
And all credit goes out to HendrickFan247, who is the original maker of the video just featured. I gotta say, it feels pretty good for SVG to get his second career win here at Mexico City. And thank you for featuring that video that I made in your race weekend recap, NASCAR Sonic fan. Anytime, bro. I've had it with your bullcrap, kid. I am so sick and tired of the way you waste me. For the remainder of the season, don't expect me to waste you cleanly. Well, it looks like the Hocevar and Stenhouse feud is at it again, and it looks like the bad blood will continue to boil over the rest of the season. But congrats on SVG on getting his second career Cup Series win at Mexico City. That's what I'm talking about. 2 of my drivers have won this season, and we're going to the playoffs. But with all that being said, next weekend we're heading to Pocono for the Tricky Triangle track, and this will be the second race weekend recap where we'll have all 3 series. And this will be the final race that Amazon Prime does this broadcast on, as after that it will move over to TNT starting with Atlanta. So until then, we'll see you next weekend at the Tricky Triangle, and also Happy Father's Day, everyone!